Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records. Akashic, we laughing, we drafting the passion through vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Consciousness is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, fascinating. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
Are you back home with all your equipment?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yay us for figuring out that we could squeeze one in this morning, even though still no guest. I keep trying to get Jonathan on, and he keeps wanting to be on, and he keeps not being able to come at the time we have.
Yeah, I get it.
And Rami has rehearsal today.
Claudia, too. Claudia was like, I want to come back. I invited her to come back on. She's stoked about it. I want to actually do a reading for her. And then we keep it. I've asked her every single time, and she's like, how about Tuesday at 7 p.m.? And I'm like, I know.
I know. We can't really do it. We've gotten to the point where we definitely can't do it around our guests because we can barely do it around ourselves. So what we need to do is compile a long list of guests.
Yeah, exactly.
And then run through it every time.
That's a good idea. It'd be cool to, I have so many ideas about that. I want to start like reaching out to like, people at like Berkeley who teach and like
physicists and
like just people.
Wackadoodles like that.
Yes. Yes. Other whack jobs out there, other non-whack jobs, very grounded people who are sort of have their toe in whack jobbery.
That's you. Now you have your whole ass body in whack jobbery. Come on, let's be honest.
For shiz. Yeah, for shiz. All day, every day. Yeah, okay, look, I'll just start with this. Fuck it. Let's be goddamn transparent again forever. I've been through I had a very, surprise, surprise. I'm going to have to find, I need new language to describe the things I go through because I'm tired of I'm like, really? You had a profound internal shift, Katie? Great. How was that for you? Oh, wait, I already know. I'll just describe it and maybe I should just speak about it as if it was no big deal at all. That would be different.
That'd be different. Look, Katie, I'll interrupt you a little bit by saying I should be grateful for this, but I have had the experience for the last few days of thinking I have nothing to report to anybody about anything. And that makes me sad.
Aww.
I almost want I got excited the other day because I was depressed.
Because something's happening.
Yeah, I could leave a nice voice package for Rami saying, I'm having a hard day. It was something to report.
Oh, I get that.
Even though I'm working, I'm doing things, and my life is chill and good, but it makes me feel like I'm not engaged.
I get you.
So
I really get you.
That's the other side of it.
It's kind of funny that we're the two poles of that spectrum.
Yeah, you're going through all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm like, hey, I was really at a long stoplight earlier today.
Fucking stoplights, am I right?
God damn, stop. Can we talk about stoplights?
What's the deal with stoplights?
They're utter bullshit.
Nonsense at the stoplights, America.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get you. Okay, I'm going to tell you then. Here we go.
Go. Tell me all the drama.
All right. I was just thinking about how to frame it. I'll go back to front. Just the way.
Do you have to protect the innocent or anything?
Nope, thankfully. But the way, it's how you're not supposed to wipe from the butt to the cooch.
Oh, we're going there, right into it.
You got to go cooch to butt so that you don't transfer the right bacteria.
I get it in theory. I don't have a cooch, but I've heard this concept before.
It's true. Well, imagine if you took a shit into your own hand and then rubbed your dick hole in the shit.
Wow. Sorry, everybody. This is my first conversation of the day. I've had none. It's early still for me, relatively speaking. It's a weekend.
Are you imagining it?
No, I'm refusing to.
All right. Well, if that were to occur, that would be the same.
This is the episode that I'm gonna be like, Mom, Dad, you guys got to listen to this episode.
Don't tune in.
It's the poopy cooch episode.
That's the same as if you were to wipe butt to cooch.
Yeah, I figured out the metaphor.
Okay, now I'm going to tell the story in a butt to cooch way.
Wait, was that all a metaphor for what's going on in your life? It's not actually, you didn't get a UTI or something.
No, it's not even that. It's a metaphor for how I'm going to tell the story of my life.
Wow. You didn't even need to use that metaphor. You were just like, I'm going to use this metaphor.
Yes.
I'm still not on the story. I'm still stuck on your choice
I haven't even gotten there.
Of metaphorical imagery.
I haven't gotten to the story.
I was certain you were going to tell me about like getting a UTI from wiping butt to cooch and then getting mad at yourself. And that was the start of a bad week.
Nope. All right. Now here's the butt part, because we're going butt to cooch. The butt part is the butt part in this story is the end of a process. That's why I'm going butt to cooch. If I start from the cooch and go to the butt like a healthy, normal lady, then you're not going to get the same dramatic effect.
Okay. Does, in this case, end of story mean future, basically? As far as like timeline of a story, the end is the future in the sense of it happens at the end.
No.
The beginning relative to the end relative to the beginning is the future. Okay. So in this case, does the future infect the past?
Oh my God. The end or the butt was last night.
Okay.
The beginning or the cooch was like a week ago.
Okay.
So time does operate in this narrative the way you are describing.
And like spiritually, the future does infect the past.
Oh, yeah.
There's a principle we can get into later, but.
Yeah, but we've discussed on the podcast many times that time is cyclical and doesn't operate the way we like to think it does anyway.
Right. Sure.
Because the sheets of glass and the time pop episode.
And the poop smearing on the sheets of glass, Cleveland steamers. It's
Cleveland steamer in your mouth, whatever. What is time? Who am I? What's it all about?
Welcome to all the answers.
So, poop version of the end of the story is I was in the improv theater parking lot last night and I felt into the resistance I had about a thing and it completely changed my life. Like,
I don't mean to, I almost choked on my tea.
Yeah, it was like all these years of doing all this work. I talk about this a lot. Like what I've been after is integration. I want to feel whole. I want to feel like all the parts of me hear all the other parts to the degree that's possible, given my human design, And yesterday in the parking lot of the improv theater, the thing I felt into that then opened and shifted and unblocked itself completely connected my lower three chakras to my heart and above. So it all feels like it's all hearing each other now. It's all connected. Like I can feel my own emotional truth as it is connected to what is spiritually correct for me. Like they're connected now.
Okay.
It's taken me this whole time just to get to where, like, here's the way I said it to Chauncey when I was describing it to him. I was like, all I want is whatever's in my highest good to feel like the thing I want.
Dish.
Yeah.
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 I'm always trying to like hear the highest good as the thing I think I want.
Right. That's what most people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. Tell me a different highest good.
Right. Yeah. So yesterday, the block between the higher chakras and the lower chakras unblocked itself, which is like, it feels like there was like I don't need a metaphor. That's what happened. So now I'm just like in an entirely new universe where it's like, oh, wait, maybe I can actually just trust myself now. And I don't actually have to. It's like, what if the answers I get in the Akashic Records are the same ones I'll get by feeling into what does my gut say? Like trusting my sacral knowing, following the emotional wave, et cetera, et cetera. And like, it feels like I finally got there through that piece of like, oh, now I get to trust the emotional wave and trust my sacral knowing in concert with each other, because everything that had me blocked from being able to feel and hear myself correctly is gone. Because if we go with the human design idea that when you can listen to the vehicle, like the vehicle, meaning the body, is communicating, quote, quote, divine will to us all the time. That's the theory. If you follow your strategy and authority, you're doing God's will or following universal flow or in alignment, whatever. But for me, there's always been a disconnect between higher knowing, God's will, what puts you in flow, and like what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been like, I'm not going to listen to what I want until and unless the divine says yes. And until and unless I've cleared all the blocks that make what I want a trustworthy thing to listen to. So I've been working on that. That's been this whole thing. 25 years. That's the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And then fucking last night.
In a parking lot of an improv theater.
This is my point. It all went like click, 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 click. And I'm like, what? So I've been integrating, to say the least, since then. And I'm just still like, oh shit. Now, here's where we have to go back to the cooch. You ready for cooch?
Always. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What?
This is the part where it's judgment will arise in you for me.
Okay.
Prepare
Good.
for your judgment dick to get hard.
Is it covered with shit?
It can be.
But no judgment.
Nope.
No kink shame.
No kink shame. That's the name of this episode. The go to Miami thing, right? I had this really strong impetus. You got to go. You got to go now. You got to go right now. So I go for a week thinking, and the whole week I'm there. I'm looking at condos and houses. Where am I moving?
Hold on. Very important interruption. I'm going to do this a lot during this story, and it's going to piss you off. But correction from last week, we found out that the song I was singing is indeed a song.
What song?
Going Back to Miami. And it's a Blues Brothers song.
Oh.
Which is why I should have recognized it.
Oh.
Because I know comedy history.
Oh, okay.
And it's an important comedy history song.
I believe you.
It's from the movie Blues Brothers, which I reference all the time and no one else knows.
Because you're old.
Because I'm old.
Okay.
Thank you for making that be the point.
Yeah.
Great.
We're both old.
Yeah, but I'm older.
It's true.
But only a little bit.
But I might die before you anyway.
Because you're just so full of life. Because you're living and I'm just coasting. So I'm going to live forever doing nothing.
And I'm going to drive off a bridge like Evel Knievel.
But like in full spiritual bloom. You're actually just going to float directly up into the heavens or just explode into a cascade of crystal light.
Oh, that's nice.
And I don't mean crystalline light. I mean the sugared powder drink.
That then falls into hell.
Right. It just sprinkles.
Down to the ground and then in through the earth to hell.
Well, actually, because you're going to be in Florida, it's actually going to just sprinkle over Mar-a-Lago, which is hell. So,
which is hell. Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, go on. What were you saying? Very important story.
Nah.
Why did you go to Miami?
So the point that I want to show people, this is how sometimes karmic healing happens. So strong impulse, got to go to Miami. Akashic Records say, go to Miami. I go, am I moving to Miami? Yes, you got to go look at apartments, go to Miami for a week so you can figure out where you live in Miami now. So I'm in Miami and I've got my dogs and I'm in an Airbnb and I'm going to this condo and that condo and I'm looking at this house and that house. Meanwhile, a storm happens. I get triggered. I do a huge healing. My whole life changes. I see a bunch of places. Every morning I wake up like, wait, I don't want to live in fucking Miami. My gut, right? Which was at the time, because I hadn't been to the improv theater parking lot yet, separate from my higher self. The higher self is going, Miami, Miami. My gut is like, but I don't want to. So there's a disconnect, right? Higher self, gut. What are we going to do? Disconnected. Oh no. So I do the whole thing. I drive back. I find a place. I put down a little deposit just to apply. I'm not committed, but I'm like committed to applying. I apply. They approve me. And the whole drive back, I'm like, I don't want to live in that fucking place. I don't want to go there. I don't want to live in that building. And my higher thing is like, you're going there. It's going. You're going. So I get to the parking lot. This is later. I get back to Jacksonville. The dogs go home.
Now we're back to the shitty butt.
Back to my butthole. I'm in the parking lot of the improv theater about to do these 2 shows in a fucking theater in Florida in the summer during a heat wave where their AC is out. Which if this were equity relevant, they wouldn't be allowed to do.
Yeah.
But it's not because it's Florida. Anyway, and I heard, I was like really irritated by the struggle, right? I was like, why is there a higher self this and a lower self that? And why are they separate? It should be all one thing. I'm confused. And I got my guidance, which was, you know how to do this. Work with the part that says no, work with it. Feel into the part in your gut that's going like, I don't want to do this. So I felt into it. This is, by the way, everybody, this is how parts works. We all think that healing is about like getting rid of uncomfortable feelings, but healing is about integrating stuff. So it's like, what is this part is the question in my low self that's like, no, I don't want to go. I felt into it. I brought light to it. And lo and behold, by feeling into, I don't want to go to Miami and letting that exist fully, bringing light consciousness to it, transmuting that low frequency energy, that wall between my lower self and my heart was removed. I didn't know that would be the goal. That would be the end goal, game result. And then I woke up this morning like, oh, I don't have to go to Miami. There's no directive anymore to go to Miami. It's totally changed overnight.
Okay.
Now, most people would be like, that would bring up a lot of stuff for people.
Like, fuck you, higher self, for torturing me for so long?
Right.
Or highest good lie?
Right. Was it a lie? Was it wrong? Was it, what the fuck was that? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, 100%. I'm a little confused right now. I'm excited to hear where the clean butt goes.
Well, here's the point of it. If the question I've been asking, if the request I've been making of the universe all this lifetime, literally my whole lifetime, has been, could I please be integrated? And with I want what's in my highest good. I want to want that. If there's a disconnect between the highest good and the lower self, it's going to have to get activated in order to flag my attention down. It's going to have to go, there's going to have to be a strong disconnect that I can feel into and do some processing work around to know where it even is in my body. Are you with me so far?
I think so.
In other words, what I'm trying to say is that the universe is constantly responding to what we're asking.
Uh-huh.
It's the way we like to say it in like a Christian framework would be like, ask and you shall receive.
Uh-huh.
Right? You pray and it is done or whatever. That's true, except that the timeline isn't always what we want. Because if you pray for a thing, it may take 20 years for you to be ready to receive the thing.
Right.
Or if you pray for the thing, you may have to do 3 more lifetimes to have the thing. Or if you pray for the thing, somebody may have to die for you to get, there's a lot involved. Okay. In this case, there was karmic activation and processing that had to occur that couldn't occur until I took my physical body to the area code 305. I had to sit in Miami's area code and be there for a week, at least, apparently, to activate this particular disconnect so that I would know where to do the processing to clear the karma that had me separated from higher to lower self.
Okay.
So I went.
Right. So the process was, what was in your highest good was not moving to Miami per se, but going through the process of moving to Miami.
I had to think I was going to Miami because that's what took me there for a week and had me sit there for a week on the dates that I went, at the time that I went, at the moment that I went, which felt like, I can't describe to you the amount of pressure it felt like. It was like, you have to go and you have to go now. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll rearrange my whole life to go down there this week. Luckily, I can do that. So I did, because I've set my whole life up for this, Anyway, so I went down and got exactly what I was asking for, big picture, which is I want to feel whole and I want no more blockages between the parts of me. So now the lower self, I'm not using the psychology term in this moment, I'm using that to mean my lower 3 chakras. I don't know, how do I say? They're connected to the upper chakras. And so I can feel the wants in my low belly being lined up with, it's like, I want what's in my highest good.
Yeah.
I actually want what's in my highest good. I think.
You think.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
So the part of me that, okay, hold on. Sometimes when we do parts work, let's say I was in the parking lot last night and consciousness was like, feel into the part of you that says, no, I don't want to go to Miami. Higher self is saying, go to Miami. I don't want to go. Sometimes when you do that work, you feel into the lower self and you feel, or wherever the no, I don't want to energy is, it processes. And what you get is like, oh, now I do want to.
Okay.
Sometimes it processes and you get like, oh, I don't even have to anymore.
Right.
You don't know. We never know what the outcome is going to be of facing a piece of resistance. We don't know. But what we do know is the outcome is going to be integration, or at least more integration from where you were before. We also know the outcome is going to be closeness to truth, sovereignty, like my sovereign truth and I are buddies because I'm more connected to myself now. I'm less disconnected from trauma. Trauma creates disconnect and separation. But we can't be pre-attached to what we think the outcome needs to be, no matter what we're hearing from higher self or not. So the whole higher self message, okay, here's a better way to say this maybe, has been if you imagine, okay, this is how we're going to do the message, go to Miami. The listener can't see this, but I'm pointing from crown chakra all the way down to my heart, like a straight line, crown to down to heart. It was coming in like that, Miami, from top to down. And in the bottom below that, it was like, no. So I processed the no energy, the energy of no. That broke a dam open. So now the go to Miami can come all the way down to the root and go all the way into the earth and past it and create an open, flowing system that is just open now. Now, the message of go to Miami has changed because the blockage was removed, because it has integrated. So now I can correctly hear, or I should say, now I can hear the current, what that message is currently is you went to Miami.
You did what you needed to do.
Yeah. So what is the takeaway? The takeaway is we have to take things one day at a time and take the guidance, but take it with temperance, listen, do our work, and see now what's the lesson. Now what's the guidance? Now what's the guidance? People always think guidance is a thing that you get and it's permanent and it's true, the end. It's not.
Right.
It's now. It's right now. And a likely outcome if all the things that are right now continue to be what they are right now. Which if you're someone like me who's constantly doing the work, constantly, it's never going to be, you don't know what 10 minutes is going to bring.
And there's also the issue of literally sort of like, how are we asking the question?
Yes.
That we've gotten into that a lot. And so, I don't know, I can still feel a little frustration around this idea of sort of being tricked by your guidance of, oh, this is in your high, it's in wink, wink. It's in your highest good to move to Miami, wink, wink, wink. But actually you were maybe just mishearing it as move to Miami as opposed because you had to in order to try to move to Miami. I don't think that's exactly it, but I hear what you're saying there. I don't think it was trickery. I think it was, let's say a normal person wouldn't be working every single day on every piece of resistance all the time, the way I do. I mean, The amount of work I did down there on my stuff is not what a normal person would do on an apartment hunting journey. You'd just be apartment hunt, eat, sleep, have some fun, wake up and apartment hunt again. It's just not. So there was a lot of karma to clear and integrate that probably could have taken 4 to 6 months that I did in a week. Right. So I could have moved to Miami and gotten what I needed, or I could have done what I did. Right. In other words, or you can frame it as you need to believe you're moving to Miami in order to go to Miami to do the work quickly. Because like you said, but it's not trickery as long as you can understand the framing of the thing I said about the now. In other words, is the universe tricking me, or is it more like right now, the truth is you got to move to Miami. So then I start to behave like I got to move to Miami. And in behaving like it, I get what I need. Right. You actually change the future in a sense. Yes. Yes. And then the future shifts and then it says, okay, now it's not actually in your highest good to move to Miami because you did something else along the way in the process of pursuing that highest good. Right. Because we knew, or it knew, or whatever, that what you would do in pursuit of what we suggested would take you to this. Yeah. Now, I hear you about feeling tricked. I think you only feel tricked if you're attached to the outcome of the original thing. Yeah. I'm attached to getting the benefits of doing the work. Mm-hmm. And this got the work done. Yeah. So I'm stoked. Now, I would be lying. I would be very lying if I didn't say there wasn't a couple minutes of like, really? Yeah. Really? I filled out an application for $350. Like I did. Yes. Right. Yeah. And I took Chauncey through this. And you burned that money. That money's gone. And Chauncey had to go on a whole ride about it with me. And like, okay, I guess I'll come visit you in Miami. Luckily, he's a delight. Yeah. So that's going good still. You want it? Oh my God, it's so good. In the sense, in a very not, how do I say? It's just in a very grounded, normal human way. It's very good. It's not a fantasy thing. It's like, man, that person is like built to be with me. And that is a specific machine you need to be. Oof. You know, guess where I'm supposed to go next? Arkansas. His joke is Winnipeg. Alaska.
Nope.
Is it a state or is it a city specific?
Yes.
I'm going to start narrowing it down. Midwest?
No.
East?
No.
Southwest?
No.
West?
Yes.
Pacific Northwest?
No.
LA?
No.
Back to the Bay?
Specifically?
Pinole?
Nope.
Benicia?
Nope.
Again? Sacramento?
Nope.
Chico?
You'll never get it. You'll never in a million years get it.
Oh, well, because it's Sunnyvale. You're supposed to move to Sunnyvale.
Right. It's that weird. It's that weird.
Milpitas.
No.
Santa Clara, right next to Levi's Stadium where the Niners play.
We're just going to keep listing small areas.
San
of the Bay.
Jose. I don't know. Where the fuck are you going?
Walnut Creek.
Oh, that's not too outrageous, but it's weird.
But that's why it's so weird.
But I got to be honest. You and your condos and your fancies, Walnut Creek works.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree.
You're a little bit of a soccer mom.
Yeah.
In your aesthetic.
Yeah.
You have a soccer mom aesthetic, living aesthetic.
I have like a rich, drinks white wine in the middle of the day, white lady aesthetic. Yeah.
You have a wine mom aesthetic with your living.
Housing.
Yeah, housing and vehicle and stuff.
Exactly.
And multiple coffee, tea, spritzer. That feels very wine mom as well. No judgment. I mean that was more description than judgment.
I don't feel judged.
Good. Can we talk? Okay. When are you coming?
Well, since this has all happened in 24 hours, I'm still dealing with it. So
okay.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
Because let's see what the next now brings.
Yeah.
But here's why I feel kind of like, oh, I can trust this now is what I have been getting for a while is it was going to be Miami and then California anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of knew that it was like, I got to go there and do a thing. And then I don't think I'm staying there.
Uh-huh.
But I wasn't sure. And so I need to go down there to be like, am I whatever. So I knew it was like a trajectory back. So this is interesting because I get to skip that whole like.
Spend time in Miami for months.
All the effort of that.
You don't have to move twice. You only have to move once.
Yvonne was like, what if you just put your shit in a pod, put it in California, go to Miami? You don't have any of your shit though. I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, just live out of a very well-appointed suitcase for 2 months.
Exactly.
It's worthy.
So we'll see what the next 48 hours bring.
A couple of my friends just moved to Berlin just because. They was like, we're going to move to Berlin for 2 years. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think he has like German roots, so he's able to like work the green card version of Germany. But that's just like, wow, you could just do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Okay.
Mm-hmm. You know what my version of that would be is Norway or Switzerland because of the happiness quotient.
Right?
Mm-hmm. What is it? Is it Finland? The place where like the most?
I think it's one of the Norwegian countries.
Yeah.
Not Norwegian. I mean the Scandinavian countries, Norwegian countries.
Yeah, like the
Sweden, Norway.
the social network, the social.
Right.
What words am I trying to say?
Yeah, but the happiness quotient.
Your needs are met. You have like healthcare built in, and
although some of them are now starting to have a right-wing pushback, which sucks. Because they were not too nice to immigrants, basically.
What do you mean? Tell me, how does that work?
Well, it's the pushback of like, well, because there's good social fabric and then social services exist and people are happy. And then, that also tends towards a slightly more liberal outlook on how we treat other humans. And then we start to, allow people to come and be part of it. And then suddenly there's right-wingers going, Norway for Norwegians only, and those Vikings, that the Viking theme runs strong through the neo-Nazis. They like to call themselves sons of Thor and stuff. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's a little overlap of problem there. But
I see.
Point still being, healthcare and, overall less suicide. There is like one of the Scandinavian countries is very sad, and the other, I can't remember which one, and one of them is very happy. And I forget which is which. Maybe it's Iceland. Maybe we should just be living in Iceland. Maybe that's the happiest country.
A lot of cold weather.
Although, the joke about Iceland and Greenland.
What?
They named themselves Iceland to make themselves less this is a myth, but
Oh.
basically, oh, we're Iceland. No, it's cold, bad. Don't come. Go over there to Greenland. And it's the opposite.
Ah.
Greenland's hella cold and covered in ice. Iceland's pretty nice and rather green. So please correct me, because we deserve an email on this, how full of shit I am on that one.
I really want to, I'm pulling up a map real quick because I want to see exactly where Iceland is. You know how Iceland has all those cheap flights to it because they were trying to bump up their tourism? You know about this?
Come to Reykjavik. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew a bunch of people like during COVID who were like, cool, we're finally going to Iceland.
Huh.
Because it was like $6 to go there. Iceland. So, oh, wow. It's all the way up at the parallel latitude line of Sweden.
Uh-huh.
It's to the east of Greenland, and it's north and east of Canada. Jesus. It's got to be freezing up there.
We've got to have winter for sure. Yeah.
Like for real winter. Reykjavik. Oh, it looks pretty cool though. I'm looking at.
I do remember visiting Sweden even, and it being light at 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
Still light out. It was very confusing.
I get your vibe, Iceland. I feel you.
I bet you there's like a Reykjavik improv festival. We should just apply to that and go.
Okay.
Why not?
I'm down.
Sounds fun.
Okay, now I'm looking at Greenland and I see what they mean because the majority of Greenland is a polar ice cap.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Isn't that funny?
Wow. It's all ice.
I don't think I've ever met anyone from Greenland. I've met people from Iceland. Well, who are the people of Greenland?
The Greenlandians? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Is anyone famous from Greenland?
Can you Google it?
I'm going to look that up. Very important questions.
Now seeing where Newfoundland and Labrador are.
Is there anyone famous from Greenland?
Manitoba. I'm learning about Canada, the Yucatan Peninsula. Alaska's all the way up there, huh? Okay. Wow, Alaska. How'd you get all the way up there?
Well, that's interesting.
Wait a minute.
You know, good old Kupik Kleist is from
What?
Greenland. I don't know Kupik Kleist.
Who the fuck is that?
I mean, Nukaka Kosterwaldau is from Greenland, and that might imply that Nicholas Nicolaj, no, he's Danish. So that's why her name is Kosterwaldau. Nicolaj Kosterwaldau, we've seen in stuff like Game of Thrones and stuff. You've seen him in movies and things.
Okay.
But he's not from Iceland. He's Danish. He's not from Greenland. I'm looking through this list of, quote, famous people from Greenland.
Yeah.
Not famous enough to be on my radar.
There's Winnipeg. It's above North Dakota. I'm going to tell Chauncey that.
I'm super curious about a country like Greenland that just never gets talked about. We never know anything about it. Like,
totally.
They have a whole government and a whole life and, cities and
yes,
industries. And
absolutely.
They probably have a small, film industry.
Yeah. I'm looking at the world map right now and I'm having that exact thought. I'm like, what happens in Yemen? What happens in Madagascar?
Baobab trees.
What's going on up there in northern Russia where it bleeds over into, guess what? Greenland.
Yes, there we go. It's connected. It's all connected.
Or actually, it's like it goes Russia and then you hop over to Alaska, cross right across the northern territories above Canada, and there you are in Greenland. So it's not that big a planet, really, when you think about it.
No.
It's actually a huge.
I just got bored with this conversation.
Oh.
I'm narrating the truth as it occurs.
I know that's what's happening. Okay, well, there's that story.
We joked a lot in that story and we talked about a lot, but that's fucking huge.
It's kind of a big deal for me.
It's kind of a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
So apparently I just reached integration last night.
Well,
can you ask somebody in the woo-woo realms?
I'm sure.
Is there some kind of a vortex in that parking lot?
No.
Is it a PowerPoint in any way or some kind of special spot?
No.
Okay.
It was just, I was ready at that moment to do that piece. The tension of feeling so at odds with myself was so high that I was finally willing to sink into the resistance that was creating the tension.
Had you had a good or bad or doesn't matter improv set?
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely would have done better to just be laying down. I probably was not the funnest version of myself in that Like oftentimes this will happen where I've just gone through some profound ass shift in the parking lot or in that day or something. And then I'm like sitting in the green room and their AC is out.
Ugh.
And it's the middle of the fucking summer in Florida. Yesterday, and there's a heat wave on top of it. It was 99 degrees yesterday, feels like 109.
Ugh.
And the AC was out and we're running around being silly on stage. So we're not like laying down, just fanning ourselves.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Rami. So a friend of mine just sent me a bird video on Instagram of a parakeet doing something clever, and it was delightful. I love birds. Everybody knows I love birds. I make it pretty public. So as a result, I get sent a lot of bird videos. But you know what? It's great. I love it. It's fine. So how I got to this state was I used to own birds until my mid-20s. And for anyone who's not familiar about the life of owning a bird that's like one of the smarter breeds, most bird owners don't keep them in a cage. They have a cage that they can go to and from. That's where the food is and stuff. But they kind of have free reign of the house. And that was definitely true about my birds. And even so, when my last bird, Cricket, passed away, I decided that I couldn't handle the karma of keeping a bird in a house. And so I just decided I was never going to be a bird owner again. I would just become a bird watcher. And I have been now, and I relentlessly watch birds. But the thing is, I miss the cuddling desperately. I miss the cuddling so much. Oh God, I miss the cuddling. Oh, I just want a little feathery, fluffy friend to like burrow into my neck and fluff its head feathers while I scratch its neck. Oh, or like climb into bed with me and lie on my chest and give me a little nip every time I stop petting it. Or have little projects around the house, like slowly dismantling my bicycle helmet while I'm at work. Oh God, I miss them. Oh, I miss having a bird so much. Anyway, I was in a store that had a bird in it in a cage. It was like a canary maybe, yesterday. And it was a small cage, a small space around this bird, right? And the cage had a bar in it, a single bar, and it had food and water. And that's it. There was nothing else in this cage with this bird. And all the bird could do was sit there. And like, how can you have a living being with a brain and a body just in a cage that is big enough to house it, just to be around it and nothing else? Can you imagine being that bird? Ugh, you just have a dish of food and water and a single place to sit, and that's it. That's your life. It was pretty heartbreaking. And I think maybe all this watching of birds in the wild throughout the parks in the city, where they just are so active and they're, like engaged in all their dramas and flying to and fro and, not having even seen a bird in a cage in a while, like it just made it even harder to look at. Rami's rules.
Do you remember, I think we even have a photograph of this when we were doing the first show we ever did together, when we did Hunter Gatherers on the boat.
Right.
So for the listeners, one of our favorite theater companies, Capitol Stage, they started out on a boat. It's a moored river boat called like the River King or the Delta King. And it has a small little theater inside the boat. Like, cause when you would ride the river boat, you'd go see a vaudeville show or whatever. And we would do shows there, and it was hot in Sacramento because it was Sacramento.
Yeah.
And I think their AC wasn't really doing a thing. And I have a picture of us sitting backstage just at intermission. Like, you've got your dress just fully hiked up and you're just like fanning your cooch. And and like all the rest of us have like taken off anything we can take off. Our stage managers just like looks like sweat. And we're all just kind of,
Where is this picture?
I don't know. It's probably on Facebook somewhere. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Oh, I want to see that.
I just have a memory of us just sort of splayed out in the dressing room backstage in the green room, just going like, okay, let's go do some theater here. Let's go be funny. Meanwhile, add to the heat, occasionally the boat going whoa, 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 because it's a boat.
Oh God, that's right.
Thank God we didn't get seasick.
God, for real. They somehow managed for that boat to be very stable, I feel like.
Yeah, every once in a while, like a speedboat would go by and it wasn't supposed to, and it would cause a wake. And then while you're on stage, you would literally just have to like brace yourself and just go slow rise, slow fall, and just act like nothing was happening. Like,
God, I don't remember that ever happening.
Yeah, I have a very specific memory of sort of like taking a slightly wider stance for just a moment, like going, whoa.
I wonder if I just never had it happen to me or if I just don't remember.
Well, I just, my other memory of that is I've had many memories at Capitol Stage with Katie losing bodily autonomy. And what?
2. We've had 2.
It feels like many rather than 2, but it is just 2.
They were dramatic. So I could see why.
Where you realize, you found out at the end, okay, if we're going to go butt to cooch, the end story of this one is that you just figured out that you needed salt. And it took you like 2 days for someone to give you that information.
Well, it was potassium, but your point stands.
Right. I mean, it's just, and the way you can get potassium is through salt.
Or a banana.
Right. But didn't you say you literally just went and ate a bunch of
bananas?
I have a memory of you eating potato chips and like getting just straight salt because you weren't absorbing your water is the problem.
Right.
You were drinking water like you were it was going out of style and nothing was changing. And we have a scene where we both kind of pass out from like orgasmic sex or food or something.
Yeah.
And the lights go down and when you had made it through the scene, but you were like, every moment of the scene was you looking at me like, just get me through this. Just get me through this. I'm barely here. And I think I just reached out and I just took your hand and you squeezed my hand back to say like, I'm still alive. And we just lay there in the dark because it's a blackout with like squeezing our hands going, are we still go? We good?
Yeah.
And we did it. We made it through the show, but it was rough.
Yeah, we did. I also remember there was one moment where, what was that young blonde intern actress's name? Or no, this was Speech and Debate. I'm sorry. You weren't in that one with me.
I wasn't there for this. Oh, so it was another crisis of body at Capitol Stage.
Yeah. This time, nobody knew about it except she and I, because what happened was it was so hot that I went away. I was in my body, standing up, looking at her, and I was supposed to say lines to her. And there was an audience. We were doing a play. And I just looked at her like, nope, I got nothing. It was the one time in my life I ever just went, I have no idea what I say now. I can't even make anything up. My brain is so melted.
I don't even know what my character is.
And she said something that made it all work. And then I was back. It was that long, but it felt like 45 minutes, of course, to us, because that's how it always is.
Yeah. Well, in that same play, Hunter-Gatherers, when you were having around that same time, it wasn't luckily totally simultaneous. I started having vertigo because of BPPV, benign paroxysmal positional vertigo.
Huh?
The crystal in the ear gets dislodged.
Right.
And it settled enough. And what triggers it often is going flat, like going prone, having your head fully prone. And so I would die again of orgasm. And being clubbed in the head.
By a lamb shank?
By a lamb shank. Yep, that's theater people. And by the end of it, there was this bench sort of upstage that I would collapse onto and then be dead for a while while you or my wife harvested my seed.
Oh my God.
Because she knew that if I died, I would ejaculate.
Forgot about that.
And she harvested my seed with a plastic baggie in my pants. Anyway, I would go flat and then the room would spin for the next minute.
Awful.
But I was dead, so it was okay. But I just got used to knowing that was going to happen.
Fucking hell.
Like when I would die, I would have bed spins, basically. And they would just be like, and super like, wah, 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 wah. Like if I'd had to say anything right after that, I couldn't have. Luckily, I was dead and it would pass after about a minute. And then I could lie there dead for a little longer until the lights went out.
Wild. I now am vaguely remembering this.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Terrible. That show was rife.
It was, but so
We fired an actor
funny
right before opening.
and good.
Yeah, once we got it down, it was amazing.
That
But
fucking
we literally fired an actor after first
dress.
tech run,
Oh, yeah.
when the rest of the company came and watched the show, and then they pulled the director aside and just said, "This guy's ruining your show."
Yeah.
And they fired him. And the director stepped into his role.
I told you I interacted with that actor later, like years later, like a decade later. And he was like, yeah, that really fucked me up for about 10 years.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. He was like, I didn't have faith in myself. I gave up. I just started working crew. I worked in the shop of a different company for a long time because I just was like, well, I'm terrible at this. And I failed and I fucked it all up. And then a bunch of years later, a friend of mine was in a show that person 10 years after this incident was in. I think it might have been that person's first time back doing a show. And my friend who was in the show with that guy didn't know my story about that guy. He knew the story about that guy, but he didn't know that I was involved.
Oh, wow.
So I go to see this play and I see both my friend and this guy in the play. And I say to my friend after the show, oh, that guy is in the play.
He's acting good.
Yeah, you know the story about him. And he was like, oh, I know the story about him. And I was like, he seems good in this role. And he looked at me like,
oh, no.
and I was like, no, what do you mean no? And he was like, just shook his head like.
Yeah. For the listeners on an audio podcast, Katie was shaking her head in that silence.
So my actor friend was saying, no, he's not very good. And he shouldn't be doing this. And I was so sad to learn that. What I wanted to have the end of the story be is like, he struggled for a long time. Then he realized he was pulled himself by it. Now he's back at it and he's killing it.
Right.
Nope.
No, that's too bad. That must just be devastating, though. I know a few people who have been fired from jobs for supposedly, for qualitative reasons, which probably weren't fair, but I don't know. I have one friend who got fired from a show during tech, and she just was, because the director kept asking her to do it a certain way, and she kept thinking she was doing it a certain way. And yeah, and I've worked with her and I've seen her in shows. She's great. She's a good actor and she does great work. And now I think she got her master's in playwriting. And I have another friend who was the co-lead on a network pilot with a very significant name. He was like her sort of nemesis counterpart and then the pilot got picked up and he did not. He was replaced in the role and it messed him up. Yeah, that is a huge, and I'm sure that shit happens all the time. But he had a decent TV career up to that moment, doing a lot of bit parts and a little bit of recurring role here and stuff. And then he had this lead and then the pilot went for this season, I think he'd only got like half a season. It wasn't a very good show ultimately, so it's fine. But for him to be fired on a show that got picked up, what does that do to your ego? How does your ego handle that level of rejection?
Yeah, I feel like, for myself, there are times where, what helps me the most with that is getting very, very honest about where I failed and then assessing very logically without emotion, like the reality of it. Let me give an example. So when I did this musical here that was not even equity, murdered it, got popularity real fast in town. Everybody liked it. Everybody wanted to use me for everything. Then was not invited back to the next musical in a lead role, was invited back to be in the ensemble. I was like, what?
For that same company?
Yeah, I was like, no, what? I just killed it for you here. Everybody said it. What are you doing? It was hard on my ego. It's very hard. So I had to go look at the whole situation quite objectively and understand actually two things were true. One, the singers who they double cast the role with two people were both altos and I'm not an alto and they had better vocal range for the role. I had better acting chops for the role. That's thing number one. So I didn't do the best job in the audition. I really didn't. I didn't win the role because I didn't sing the shit out of it. But part two was that group of casting people preferred the song to be perfect than the acting to be excellent.
Yep.
So two things were true. One of which was I just wasn't right for it. And I wasn't the best choice for that job. And that's where you got to eat the humble pie. But the other part was the subjective thing of like, had a different director been directing it, they might have been like, let's go with the lady who's funny and nails the role and like isn't an alto but can sing.
Yeah.
So some of it is subjective and some of it is objective. And I think for me, it's like I have to get clear about what's true so that I can process my pain around the parts that are true and not take on the parts that aren't true.
Yeah. And I think the hardest part of that is the honest assessment, because it's really hard to like believe, how do I say this? Like there are definitely actors out there where I'm like, how do you keep going?
Yeah.
If you never get cast,
right?
But they keep trying and keep going and keep persevering.
Yeah.
And then how do you not at some point go, maybe this isn't for me? And I do know people who've done that, and that's fine. Now, I'm sort of dealing with a little bit of that in that I've done enough that I know I'm good. My ego knows enough to know that I carry the quality in a basic sense that is needed for a lot of the work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's starting to get a little like, wait, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe maybe my ego is getting in the way of figuring out what I'm missing, because it has now been a lot of like, there have been several auditions where I didn't even get a call back at all. I just got a first call and then not interested. And I am struggling with, do you know who I am?
Mm-hmm.
That game. And like, okay, so I'm still waiting, but I'm pretty sure nothing's happening because it's been a little too long since I turned in that first audition, and I haven't gotten the thanks, but no thanks on a show that I really, really would love to do. And I think I would be perfect for, and I know the playwright would love me to be in it probably. And the theater itself, I think they, would like to find something for me, but the director doesn't know me from fucking anybody. And so all they're looking at is a generic video audition with no context.
You could argue is more objective.
It is, yes. So it is more objective or just on the baseline of, the problem with any audition is that especially a neutral audition with no interaction, is all it shows you is that person can do a good video audition. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It doesn't actually tell you it's like a cold read where you're like, well, no, cold readings, all they teach you is that person can do a good cold read. It doesn't really assess whether they'd be right for the role. And I'm saying that partially defensively because I'm like, I think I did a good video audition, but also there's nothing particularly striking or unique or wow about what I gave them or who I am. If you don't know a little bit of my track record to know like, oh, he can do wow. I've seen him do wow. So, and the, problem is often with a video audition, it's just do this material in front of you that we provided for you. Okay, what can I do with this beyond nail it? All this is to say, I can do the hard fact of the objectivity and I'm just not right for this person right now and stuff like that. And that's mostly what I do. And I can be very disappointed when it doesn't happen because I actually kind of put a little of faith in this basket of like, I think this is the one.
But can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
A little bit of a harder one that is the same one I just was saying I had to. If you had to look let's say, because this guy has no context on you or this person has no context on you, if you had no context on you and you saw this audition, is there any note you would give you?
Right. I don't know because, I watched it, but, I was inside of it. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's the part that, at some point I'm going to need to figure out how to grapple with if I keep sort of being passed over.
In other words,
yeah.
Either you're being asked by the universe to up level to the next, either you have to get even better than you already are.
Yeah.
On some level of something, or it's just a timing issue and a subjective issue and it's just hasn't lined up.
Yeah. And if nothing else, if on an objective level, probably if I looked at this audition and just saw this guy who isn't I don't think I look particularly anyway, I'm just kind of like I'm not odd looking, but I'm also not super, super handsome. I'm just like, hey, there's a guy.
Mm-hmm.
My voice is pretty neutral, right? I don't have an interesting way of talking or anything. I'm not Christopher Walken, so nothing stands out. So you put that in an audition, you go, yeah, he could do the role.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. And that's the problem because what I can't show is I'm a fucking good collaborator. You would really enjoy working with me. Ask anybody I've worked with in the past. It's really, we have a great time. I'm good working with directors. I take notes, a lot of things that very interesting actors often don't have, but I can't show that. It's really hard to show that in an audition. And that's also maybe an excuse for like, oh, you're failing because you're not really bringing it. What am I not really bringing is what I need to figure out.
So who would be the person you could go to who you would trust enough to give you like acting coaching or feedback?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like, is there a Michael Stevenson? Is there whoever?
I might need to reach out to like my buddy John again. He's been the one in the past who has called me out in good ways.
That you could hear.
That I could hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a special, you got to find your person. This is true for everybody, I think, who we can hear our shit be called out from.
Yeah.
Now, you can't hear it from everyone.
Yeah.
It's not everybody's job,
It's true. On my last several auditions, I have not, I work with a friend because we're helping each other, but I'll ask like, anything? You see anything? And I don't really get any, oh, it seems good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
How about you tell me, actually, could you do it like you're fucking insane or something? I just need, because right now it's kind of fine. That's what I feel like I'm giving people is perfectly fine. And if you don't know me already, perfectly fine doesn't cut it.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, little inside baseball on that.
But this is why I think this is a good conversation for folks to hear on the podcast like this, because I'll often in healing sessions with people say to people, okay, right now, what we're about to do or what we've just done was a little coaching session. So sometimes what we're doing is energy healing. Sometimes what we're doing is therapy or parts work. Sometimes what we're doing is coaching. So that was a little coaching in the sense of a good coach oftentimes will ask questions of a person to help them realize what's needed in order to get where they're trying to go.
Yeah.
So instead of telling you, it sounds like you need someone, I go like, okay, so I wonder who would be the person you could talk to that could give you a feedback that you could hear. Because to me, when I hear you saying all the things you're saying, it's either totally subjective and you're out of control entirely, or there's something you could be working on, but you haven't heard it yet. And so you're not working on it yet, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
So what do we have any control over in that scenario? It's the second thing. No control over the subjective thing. If it's just people with opinions and they don't happen to like you, you have no control over that. But if it's something like where you could up level in some way, but you haven't yet, that you have some control over. Okay, well then the next question becomes, what action can I take to take control of that?
Yeah.
And one action you could take would be to find someone who you trust, who you could hear, who could give you some feedback.
Yeah. Word.
And I get it. I get it on all the levels of getting all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really had to suck, I had to eat some real humble pie when I was.
I want you to suck humble dick is what I
want to suck that humble pie and just suck it through a straw. Yeah. Yep.
Uh-huh. I'm struggling with a little bit of I'm still going through the do you know who I am thing. And apparently the answer is no.
That's the interesting thing to that question is oftentimes the answer is no, nor do I care.
Right. I don't give a shit who you are.
I know.
Yeah. When and I've put a lot of work into that.
Yep.
For the past 20 years. And so now I feel like the reset button has been hit a little bit and a little bit of the board has been wiped clean to a certain extent. And I have to be like, okay, well, I guess I got it.
I always, for you, think too about going a little bit outside of this market. Like I'm thinking again of my friend whose name I said before, who used to only work in this, but we're going to cut his name, in Sacramento, just that's where he lived. And then he was having this experience and I was like, he's the best actor ever. What? So then he went to, North Marin, deep east of Sacramento, north of and like he's working all the time now again.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to work those. And I got to be honest, I finally started working on my script for the show that I am doing later this summer down in Carmel, which still appreciates me.
Oh, fun.
And it's like even just working on the script a little bit, I'm like,
yeah.
And that's also tied into that I have nothing interesting to tell. Like, I'm getting stories from Rami and their rehearsals and they're just little moments, little bits, even the struggles, even the shitty parts. We're like, oh, you're engaged and shit's happening. Oh,
yeah.
I want to be mad at rehearsal. Like,
No. Yeah, I get that.
You know?
I get that.
and just to have, and that, I think ultimately what all this boils down to is knowing that like I am missing feeling engaged
Yeah,
in something that
right.
is challenging and joyful and hard and good and all those things, like everything's just fine right now. And, my work is fine.
Yeah, I get it. I really, really get that. What is the Carmel show?
I'm doing Cymbeline, Shakespeare's Cymbeline.
Rock on. I didn't know about this.
Oh yeah. With my old buddy, Ken Kelleher, who I've done like 12 shows with at this point in my life.
And that's at...
He's the only director who, quote, knows who I am now. Cause like he direct offers me shows and stuff. It's great.
Which theater is that?
Pacific Repertory Theater.
Oh, yeah. Packer.
Yeah, they're great.
That's great. Good for you.
I worked on there a bunch. They're like some of my favorites. I know the people down there. I know all the...
Is that where I saw you do Godot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was me and Brian Herndon. I loved that show. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
But we, I'm excited to do that. It's just still feel like I got the offer like months ago, and it's still not until the end of August that we even start rehearsals. So I'm like,
yeah,
waiting.
I get that. Well, good talk. I have to pee. Are we done here?
Well, let's call it. I think we did it. I really thank you for your back to front poop to vag story.
May it be inspiring. Next week, I may be living in Miami and going like, I learned a new thing.
Exactly. Let's always know that nothing is permanent, especially with Katie Rubin. Very exciting. I keep saying I'm going to visit you in a place that you are.
Yeah.
And then I don't travel, and then you move.
Exactly.
So I never get to see you where you are.
Well, Walnut Creek is just down the street.
All right. How much longer do you think you're going to be in Jacksonville?
No answer yet.
Okay. Months?
No.
Weeks?
Maybe.
Wow. Wow.
We'll see.
Great.
I gotta pee. I love you.
Have a good pee. Do your work. Do your pee.
Okay, you too.
Wipe front to back.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wipe front to back.
Wipe front to back.
Bye.
Bye.
Were you asking for all of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.